Okay, so we're going to talk about all things wallets today. Yeah. So I want you to go with me on a thought experiment about how the next generation of wallets is going to look like. Can you guys tell me how many of you have used MetaMask? Okay, pretty cool. How many of you have used Ledger? Hardware wallets? Cool. How many of you have used Privy? Okay. So, yeah. So before we go into the details of how the different kinds of wallets are, where are we heading next, let's take a trip down the memory lane. So who has been here in the space pre-2015? Okay, one person, 1, 2, 3 OG people, pretty cool. I entered the space in 2016, so a little bit later than you guys did. So right when the first phase of the wallets, or the first generation, or you can call the genesis phase, was from 2014 to 2016. This was the first time that the wallets actually started having the capability to interact with smart contracts. Before that was Bitcoin. On Bitcoin, you could only directly interact with the blockchain, but there was no concept of smart contracts on Bitcoin. That's when Ethereum came, and they started with they added this technical complexity, or this key store, where a wallet could then also interact with a smart contract. But this was very, very technical solution. It was just a key store file. You had to manually copy it. Of course, like, it was not something that was built for normal people, and you could lose your keys, give it away, all sorts of stuff. So this was but this is like where the technical capability actually started. So this is what we call the genesis phase. This went on from 2014 to 2016. And then came the first improvement, the browser wallet era. This is where your favorite MetaMask came into being. So there was this browser extension. You could create your addresses from there. And one very interesting thing that they did was that instead of private key, you could now have seed phrases. So in some ways, seed phrase is a little bit better, easier to read, easier to understand, easier to store. But of course, this was also not targeted towards normal, non-technical people, because you actually had to store your seed phrases, not give it out to anybody, install a Chrome extension, and there was, of course, a lot of friction. So then came the third phase, the multi-chain and mobile. Ethereum was no longer the only player in the market. There were multiple chains that were coming out, and people were thinking about, would we really always use a wallet from a browser? We do so much stuff from the mobile, so why not have mobile wallets? And that's when the multi-chain and mobile wallets started coming into being, from 2019 to 2020. And then from 2021 to 2022, this is the first point where people actually started thinking about mass adoption. Sorry, am I coming in front of the slides? I'll stay on the side. So that's when people started thinking about the end users, the normal internet users, the people who are not into crypto. And therefore, people started experimenting with wallet as a service and the user experience. So we're talking about social recovery, session keys, non-custodial logins, login via your social accounts. And that's when wallets like Gnosis Safe, Magic Link, and web3 auth started to come into being. And then the most recent was the account abstraction era. This was the last 2 years. I am pretty sure every one of you would have heard it. So make the wallet programmable, allow it to have modular functionality inserted into it. And we also started seeing the rise of embedded wallets. So I remember a few people here use Privy. That's the classic example of embedded wallets. Right now, state of the art in the user experience category. If I could simplify it a little bit, the Wallet 1.0 were essentially the externally owned accounts, or the EOAs. And Wallet 2.0 is what we call the smart wallets, or the smart accounts. So these are the two big categories, or two generations of wallets that have like come before us. And now but there is still a lot to be done, because ask any one of your friends that are not into crypto, or your mom, or your friend, or somebody that's outside the crypto bubble. Ask them to use a wallet, and they will still struggle. That means there's still a lot of work needs to be done. But what exactly? And what kind of improvements should we look for? So how many of you are on crypto Twitter? Okay, I'm actually impressed. Half of the people are there and half are not. Pretty cool. I thought the entire room would be in there. But people who are like following the discussions or talks or threads, there's like an insane amount of discussions about we need Web 2 like UX, we need to make Web 3 feel like Web 2 and all of this stuff. But what exactly does this mean when we say that we want to have Web 2 like UX? What are we talking about? So let's talk about the differences between Web 2 and Web 3 when it comes to the unit of interaction. So on the left-hand side, you can see the simple layers of a blockchain application. So on the lowest layer is the blockchain, which is the trust layer or the data layer in a way. On top of that is the decentralized application that sits on top of the blockchain layer. And then the unit of interaction is essentially a wallet. And like you start your transactions, you sign your transactions from a wallet, and you interact with the whole stack through using wallet as the entry point. On the right-hand side is the Web 2 architecture. So on the lowest layer you have, it's very simplified, but you get the idea. On the lowest side you have the database. And then on top of that you have the application logic. And what's the unit of interaction? Big question. Any guesses from the room? What is the unit of interaction in Web 2? How do you essentially, when you go onto a platform, what are you using to interact with that platform? Sorry? Yes. Yeah, I mean, yes, but it's essentially a profile. How many of you have profiles on different platforms? Like, everyone has profiles, right? An average person has 7 profiles because we have a different profile on every different platform. So a profile was a unit of interaction in Web 2. So anytime you go to a Web 2 platform and you want to like have a presence on that platform, they usually ask you to create a profile. So a profile is how you start interacting with that application. So what does a profile do? A profile basically has 3 distinct functions. It helps to identify the users within a platform, contextualize their interactions, and personalize their experiences. But the profile data is always siloed inside the platform, so kind of like a walled garden. I'm going to explain a little bit more about what I mean by identification, contextualization, and personalization. So as much as we like to think that we are this unique individual and we act and be the same way everywhere, that's not true. Human beings exist in personas. What do I mean by that? Right now, as I'm standing on this stage, I have my speaker persona activated. But the moment I leave this conference and go to my home, I will have my mom persona activated. So the way I talk, the way my body language is, maybe the language that I'm using, everything would change. And we, as human beings, interact with different people in different settings in completely different ways because we have different personas that get activated based on the external environment that we are in. When we are living online, when we are going to different platforms, the same behavior is manifested there as well. And that is why we act differently on LinkedIn. Our choice of profile picture is different. The way we talk, the way we post, the way we interact with people, the kind of people that we connect with is different on different platforms. And these different personas come in the form of different profiles that we have. So in a way, profiles identify people on a platform. And then profiles also contextualize your interactions. So we're all very intelligent individuals here, but do you think that, let me give you an example. So let's say there are 2 people. They are both saying exactly the same thing. But one person has a blue tick on Twitter, has 45,000 followers, and the other person has no blue tick, no profile picture, and 26 followers, let's say. Whose tweet or whose post are you going to trust more? Most of the people would interact more with the person whose profile has extra metadata, that supports their reputation. The contextualization of our interactions, the context and reputation actually changes the trust and validity that people have in the content. So this is the second thing that profiles do. They contextualize your interactions. People can extract more meaning out of what you're saying based on the extra metadata that's around you, that's surrounding your profile. And then profiles do another amazing thing, and that's personalization. So we always keep saying like Web3 has so less retention, users get churned away, but we didn't have these problems in Web2. I'm not saying that Web2 was perfect or had no problems, but in a way, they made Web2 had platforms that were very sticky, and people were eager to return to them. Why was that happening? Because of personalization. Personalization is essentially that you understand who your user is, and then you completely change their entire workflow or their experience so that that person feels understood and feels like the platform is talking to them. So even in personalization, there are three categories. That's curation. You show the people the kind of content they are most likely to enjoy. Then recommendation. You show the people the kind of content that you think they would interact with. And then there's discovery. So you let people discover the content that they want to discover in the minimum number of steps possible. So that's the third biggest thing that profiles did. And personalization was one of the key factors that Web2 platforms were so sticky and had higher user retention. However, of course, it was not perfect. Profiles completely silo your context or your data. You don't really own your data. The platform can censor you at any time. You can be your entire reputation or whatever you have built over the years, it can be deleted the moment you, I don't know, even by chance go against any of the terms of service or anything like that. And this data is also siloed to one platform. Interestingly, these are all the things that Web3 can actually solve. So we talked a whole deal about what profiles are. Coming back to a wallet. Now, what does a wallet has? A wallet has a pseudonymous address, some transactions, and some assets. But wallet is a completely anonymous piece of public-private key pair. It has no information about the wallet holder. So no interest preferences, no social graph, no reputation, nothing like that. And while this was good in the start, it's also one of the reasons why Web3 platforms are not able to retain users in the way that Web2 platforms do. One of the other problems that wallets introduce, more than profiles, because now we are doing this comparison between Web2 and Web3 unit of interaction, is that wallets introduce unimaginable friction. We still have to, every time somebody onboards to Web3 the first time, even if you ask them to, like, you can create a wallet through your email or Gmail, they still have to figure out gas, they still have to figure out bridging, they still have to figure out, okay, I'm on Solana right now, or I'm on Cosmos, or I'm on Avalanche, or I'm on Ethereum. There is still zero context cold starts, and yeah, it's still quite a lot of friction. So we started thinking about a mental model about how the next generation of wallets could look like. And what can we actually learn from Web2? What parts are something that should be reintroduced? What parts are something that are better left behind? And we thought that why not, instead of, terminology is a powerful thing, why not create profile as an abstraction over wallets and chains? If you guys, since most of the people here use MetaMask, they are also now introducing the concept of profiles within MetaMask. So you can have your profile, which has your preferences, and you can use that to move between different devices and stuff. So if you really look deeper into the wallet space, there is slowly this concept of profiles that is being introduced, because profile itself is a powerful concept. So my theory is that more and more we will move towards profiles, and wallets and chains would be something that would be abstracted away, abstracted behind the profiles. And these profiles can also include data about the user, like their reputation, like their social graph, like their interests or preferences, but in a way that would put users in control. So not like Web2, but in a more, so like preserving the user's sovereignty. because Web3 is interoperable by nature, we can actually improve the whole profile infrastructure in a very different way. We can actually create things, create profiles, or create these data packets that user can take from one platform to another, one ecosystem to another. We can actually create this movable context from ecosystem to ecosystem. So forget about that, okay, I need to figure out which ecosystem I'm on. Am I on Solana? Am I on Ethereum? Am I on Avalanche? Maybe we could just have profiles. Maybe we could just have these personas that, okay, this is my music profile. I'm going to go into a platform that has a list of very nice music. I'm going to log into that platform with my music profile. I don't have to care about gas. I don't have to care about blockchain. I don't have to care about what wallet is being created behind or not. I just go there with my context. I allow this application to extract my musical interests from my profile, and I let it show me the best music possible. Why can't we do it just like that? Technically, it is actually possible, and there are some people who are doing it as well. The next big arena in the wallet UX is intent-driven user experience. So what is intent-driven? So we are moving more and more towards intention economy of the internet. So the internet is being changed in a way because of the advent of AI that users can just say what their intention is, what they want, and everything gets handled in the background. So an example could be that a user goes to a platform and says, okay, this digital art looks cool. Maybe they don't even know what an NFT is, but this digital art looks cool, let's buy this. And then behind the scenes, the wallet or the profile or the personal AI agent, whatever it is, it basically checks, okay, to buy this, I need to do this. So I need to first check if there is a token, which token is required. I need to check whether in my associated wallet, is there a token? Do I need to swap? Do I need to bridge? Do I need to buy more tokens? Do I have the permissions to do it? And then if I don't have the permissions to do it, then I request for permissions and do all of these steps that are right now manual, do it as a program, and then the user just gets this notification, okay, it's bought. So this is also a new frontier of Web3 UX, this intent-driven user experience. And I believe that this would also be, the wallets would also experiment more and more with this architectures as well. So we've come up with this name. You're free to use this name or anything else. But we say that this wallet 3.0 would be called as smart profiles. So what is a smart profile? A very generic, high-level definition could be that it's a modular, intent-driven, interoperable account that knows who you are, understands what you want, and handles all the executions behind the scenes. So you don't have to worry about seed phrases, gas management, chain switching, or anything like that. So in a way, it's like identity, data, wallets, personal AI agents, all together into one package that makes users' lives easier. By the way, the company that I am working on, the tech that we are working on is also creating something similar. We call these as smart profiles. Like I said, intersection of identity, data, and wallets. And what we offer is, for the users, extremely easy login. So users can log in with a Web2 style login, completely abstracted wallets, completely abstracted chains. But then users can also onboard with their entire context. So they can bring their on-chain and off-chain data with them whenever they go to an application on any ecosystem. This profile that they create is completely interoperable, can be used anywhere. And we have a personal AI agent that's attached to the user's wallet and is trained on the user's context, and it can help user with the intentions or the wishes of the user. It can personalize their experience. It can do things on users' behalf based on the permissions that they're allowed. And all of this is available as a very simple 5-minute SDK integration. So if you guys are interested, we can talk about it after the talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. We've got
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for an interesting talk. I would like to ask, where is the key stored in your solution? Is it locally in a browser, or is it at your servers? Because to have the wallet non-custodial, the key should be...
It's an MPC TSS network. So
Where?
it's MPC TSS network. So it's a decentralized MPC TSS network in the background. So the key, so for example, if the user's key is sharded into n parts, and these n parts are divided between n servers, and there's an authentication method. So for example, if the user decided to create their wallet through their email, let's say, or their passkeys, for example, then this acts as the authentication method, and only when somebody can prove correct ownership of this authentication method can this MPC TSS network allow for the signing of a private key. So it's decentralized, it's self-custodial, without the user's correct access token, the signing cannot take place, and yet it's
So
good
user
for
doesn't
UX.
store at all any keys in his local storage. It's
No.
completely the server. Okay.
Yeah.
So in some sense, it might be vulnerable if these nodes collude together to reconstruct the key, right?
So that's in the MPC TSS network. So they're like it's not like one server. It's it's a distributed key.
How many?
So right now we're using the lit. We have a native integration with lit protocol, and they have 21 servers right now.
Okay. Well, okay. Thank you.
Hi, I have privacy concerns here that profiles are bad enough because they have too much information, and now these super profiles are super bad in this respect. I'm not sure I see this right.
I was expecting this question. So you're right in a way. So in the sense that you think about profiles as being bad because they understand who you are. So there's this balance of privacy and personalization. And this is a discussion that, or a topic that we're thinking about very deeply for the past 3 years. So the problem is that if you go with a completely zero context, then even you would not enjoy the experience that you get on a platform. So what's a better alternative? A better alternative is that no centralized party has your data. And even if you want to disclose your data to an external party, you do it with a selective disclosure way. So this party only gets, so for example, I gave the example of music platform. So if you go to an application that's a music store, and you can only allow this application to know what your musical interests are without your name, without your, I don't know, other identity handles, without anything else. So this application would just know, okay, this is a 0x something address, and they are interested in jazz music, so let's recommend them jazz. The problem happens in Web2 because the data gathering that they're doing about you is very, very detailed, and they kind of follow you everywhere. And you never really know where your data is being sold. You never really know that if an ad that you're seeing in one tab, whether that ad is coming because you shared your data with a completely different website. So you have no consent. You have no idea where your data is going and coming from. That's the problem with this hyper personalization in a way. So we are trying, of course, this application would then know what your interests are, but we believe that this is a good balance of privacy and personalization, which is we are trying to strike. So this is an experiment, of course, but this is our thought process behind it.
For the MPC part, do you use the same private key for contacting or communicating services? Because in the past, I was in a project, I was using child key derivation. So only MPC servers, they only have the master key, and for every service, they generate a child key together with the proof of knowledge. And based on that, they communicate with different services, so they cannot link completely. So it's
correlation
fully,
resistance.
Yeah. So do you use the same private key basically? Otherwise, it's going to be very dangerous to use, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right about this. So correlation resistance is also something that's super important, but we use one key per ecosystem. So we have several keys that are created from the one master key, but we do not have a different key for every application, because otherwise we would not be able to let the user share the context between applications, which is something that we would want, that we want. So there is some level of correlation resistance, but it's not a new key for every new interaction. And that's by design.